So it's about midday on Sunday, the 13th of October 2019. I'm looking at the coming Mercury retrograde. As of 48 hours ago, as of Friday, a couple of days ago, we've entered what's called the Mercury retrograde shadow. That means that Mercury is now moving forward into the area of the sky that it will then retrograde back over before standing still and then moving forward again. So let's actually get the timings right first of all. We entered Mercury retrograde shadow on Friday around about 6 a.m. UK time. Mercury will actually go retrograde on Thursday the 31st of October at 3:30 in the afternoon UK time. Mercury will stop going retrograde on the 20th of November 2019 around about 7 p.m. UK time, and Mercury will clear its retrograde shadow around late evening of Saturday the 7th of December UK time. During this Mercury will be retrograde between 11 and 28 degrees of Scorpio. Now, it's not actually challenging any significant planets in the sky. It's going to be conjuncting Venus and the Sun, obviously, as it does every time it goes retrograde. It's not going to be touching Mars or Jupiter. Neither is it going to be touching Uranus. It's going to be sextiling Saturn and Pluto, and it's going to be trining Neptune. So all of this is pretty good. This all points to this Mercury retrograde not being a challenging one for the world. It's certainly not convenient in terms of timings, though. During this Mercury retrograde shadow and the Mercury retrograde itself, we have today's full moon at 21 degrees of Aries, full moon in Aries, exactly squaring Pluto and trining Jupiter, which is messy. Please refer to my previous video. We also have the new moon on the 28th of October, just before Mercury goes retrograde at 4 degrees 25 of Scorpio, which will be opposite Uranus by 1/5 of 1 degree. That's a massive full moon. And the new moon on the 12th of November at 19-20 degrees of Taurus, very nicely trining Pluto and to a lesser extent Saturn. So it seems that it's particularly difficult timing, especially with today's full moon and the next new moon, because these are the most challenging new and full moons of 2019. And we live in tumultuous times. So Mercury's going to be retrograde in the second half, or the second 2/3 of Scorpio. Let's look at the global thing first of all. Here, normal Mercury retrograde rules apply. As of now, it's not really that good a time to make major changes of course, to make major changes of plan. It's certainly not a good idea to get a mortgage, buy a house, major changes of jobs, sign new contracts, buy a car, or do anything involving committed travel plans. If you're going to make travel plans, factor in some wriggle room. That way, if it goes wrong, you've got 24 hours to play with. During this time of Mercury retrograde, it's quite likely that communications in some shape or form will screw up for some people. Emails will not happen, letters will get lost, phone calls will get missed. Buses may be late, trains may get delayed, airplanes may get cancelled. There's likely to be, with this particular Mercury retrograde, issues around tunnels, underground transport systems, any type of movement or communication beneath the surface, whether it be undersea, internet cables for London or Montreal or New York underground systems, anything that is hidden in terms of transport isn't likely to work as well as we expect. You can expect delays with this. At an individual level, and this is where you need to be a little bit astrologically aware, look at your own horoscope. Now, in order for you to be able to work this out, you need to know your ascendant, and the ascendant comes with knowing your time of birth. There are so many free programs out there now online where if you know your time of birth, you can easily work out your ascendant. Look at the house of the zodiac that this Mercury retrograde is taking place in. Look at the area from 11 to 28 degrees of Scorpio in your chart. Here you can expect not so much challenges and difficulties as sudden changes in direction or changes of plan. This is a time where, for example, I can only refer to my charts happening in my second house. So at this time, I'm not expecting to suddenly win the lottery or anything like that. And indeed, I'm spending a lot of money on paying the tax man, paying up my taxes and insurances so that it's all done and clear. That's going to wipe out most of my life savings. But anyway, then it's done for another year. Other people, if it's in your 10th house, this is where there's going to be mixed signals around job and work and career. If it's in your 7th house of one-to-one relationships, then there's going to be a lack of transparency, not dishonesty, but a lack of complete transparency. Whichever house of your zodiac, whichever house of your horoscope this Mercury retrograde is in at the end of second half of Scorpio, you can expect an element of uncertainty, doubt, miscommunication, perhaps misinformation, but it's unlikely because there's no really difficult aspects during this Mercury retrograde. Much more significantly, I suggest you also look at the area of your chart at the second half of Aries and the first bit of Taurus, because this is where the full moon, today's full moon, and where Uranus, that's going to be hit by the next new moon, is. And in that area of your chart, that's where you can expect sudden changes over the coming 2 weeks. So if this is in your 6th house, then you may find that your normal routine in terms of lifestyle management, health, hygiene, diet, nutrition, exercise, suddenly takes a shift. If it's in your 11th house, then one or two close friends or people in your social community may suddenly be noticeable by their absence for some reason. If it's in your, say, 4th house, then there can be sudden changes in terms of the home, the residence, the domestic or family situation. The roof might start leaking, or someone might suddenly get ill, or something like this. The essence here is not to make major changes of plan. Certainly at the moment, from now through to the time when Mercury stops going retrograde, which won't be until November the 20th, so that's another 5.5 weeks, the idea of making major changes of plan isn't going to work. Stick to your guns. After the 20th onwards, when Mercury starts moving forward, then there's a capacity for adaptability and flexibility. But remember, at this time, it's very easy to say, oh, it's Mercury retrograde, that's why this isn't working. And actually, that's just an excuse. Mercury will be retrograde, yes, but the underlying factors here are today's full moon, the next new moon, and the approaching Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and after that the Jupiter-Pluto and then the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, the triple whammy that's coming up in the early part of next year. We live in evolutionary times. We live in times where the world is changing at the daily level, and for many of us it's happening far too fast. I draw a bit of comfort because of my own personal philosophies when I remember that I volunteered for this. That in terms of mission statement, life purpose, reason why I volunteered to come to planet Earth in the first place, this is what I'm supposed to be doing here and now. And I think that for those people that can adapt their mindset to the idea of why are they on planet Earth at this time, then the capacity to be as effective, focused and efficient, to be doing your best, not to be being successful, but to be doing your best, and to act in a way that, regardless of what other people say, whatever criticism you get, as long as you can turn around to yourself and say you're doing your best to act with as much authenticity and dignity as possible, then that's all that's being asked of you. You're not being asked to be successful, you're being asked to do your best. So keep your own peace over the coming 5 weeks. Mercury's retrograde, there's some crazy moons out there, and there's going to be a lot of headless chickens. So at the end of the day, as long as you can turn around to yourself and be proud of yourself for who you are, to live in your own light and to live in your own strength, you're going to do well. And you're going to come out of this not only proud of yourself, but in a much stronger position. So yeah, here we go. Head first into a Mercury retrograde. Crazy moons, crazy times in the world. Hey, what's not to like? Catch you later, world. Bye.